The day I buried my son, my wife was drinking cocktails on a beach in Hawaii with another man. That sentence still sounds unreal whenever I say it out loud. Even now. Even after everything that happened. Even after the divorce, the lawsuits, the public humiliation, and the collapse of the life she thought she was building. Nothing can erase the image burned into my memory. I was standing beside a small white casket, trying to say goodbye to my 8-year-old son, Ethan. My hands were shaking. My mother was crying. Friends and relatives surrounded me. The minister was finishing the service. And my wife, the woman who had carried Ethan for 9 months, the woman who once swore she would protect him forever, was thousands of miles away laughing on a Hawaiian beach. I discovered it by accident. One notification, one photo, one moment that shattered everything. I looked down at my phone and saw her smiling beside a tall man wearing sunglasses. His arm was wrapped around her waist. She held a tropical drink in her hand. The caption read, "Living our best life in paradise." The location tag said Maui. The timestamp showed it had been posted 20 minutes earlier. 20 minutes. While our son was being buried. At first I couldn't breathe. The world seemed to stop moving. My vision blurred. The sound of the funeral disappeared. All I could hear was the pounding of my own heartbeat. I stared at Ethan's grave. Then I stared at the photo. Back and forth. Again and again. Trying to understand how a human being could become so heartless. Then something inside me changed. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't call her. I didn't send angry messages. Instead, I made a decision. I was done. Done forgiving. Done believing lies. Done sacrificing myself for someone who would abandon her own child. And for the first time in months, I felt absolutely certain about something. Vanessa was going to lose everything. 3 years earlier, our lives had looked perfect. We lived in a beautiful suburban neighborhood. We had successful careers, a comfortable home, a healthy son, family vacations, birthday parties, holiday traditions. From the outside, we looked like the family everyone envied. But appearances can be dangerous because they hide the truth. The truth was that Vanessa had slowly started changing. At first it was small. Longer hours at work. More business trips. More evenings spent staring at her phone. Less interest in family dinners. Less interest in Ethan. Whenever I mentioned it, she had an excuse. A meeting. A client. A project deadline. I believed her because trust is the foundation of marriage. Or at least it should be. Then Ethan got sick. The doctors discovered a serious heart condition. Everything changed overnight. Hospital visits became normal. Medical bills piled up. Fear became part of everyday life. I thought the crisis would bring us closer together. Instead, it pushed Vanessa further away. The more Ethan needed us, the less available she became. I attended appointments alone. I slept beside hospital beds alone. I listened to doctors alone. And eventually I started raising Ethan almost entirely alone. One night, I sat beside his hospital bed while he slept. The room was dark except for the glow of medical monitors. My phone buzzed. It was Vanessa. Working late again. That was the message. Simple. Short. Routine. I replied with a picture of Ethan sleeping. She never responded. Months later, I would discover exactly where she had been that night. Not at work. Not with clients. Not helping support our family. She was having dinner with Trevor Collins. The man who would eventually accompany her to Hawaii. The man who thought he was stealing another man's wife. The man who had no idea what kind of person Vanessa truly was. Ethan fought for nearly 2 years. 2 years of surgeries. Treatments. Hospital rooms. Hope. Disappointment. Hope again. Through all of it, he remained stronger than most adults. One afternoon, he looked at me and asked a question that still breaks my heart. "Dad, am I going to die?" I felt like someone had stabbed me. Children shouldn't ask questions like that. Children should worry about homework and baseball games. Not death. I grabbed his hand. "No, buddy. We're going to keep fighting." He nodded, then smiled. "Okay." As if my answer solved everything. As if fathers were superheroes who could protect their children from anything. God, I wish that had been true. The final 6 months were the hardest. His condition worsened rapidly. Doctors became more serious. Conversations became more cautious. Hope became harder to find. And Vanessa became more absent than ever. One day Ethan asked where his mother was. I lied. Work. The truth was she was on a weekend getaway with Trevor. I found proof later. Photos. Hotel reservations. Messages. Evidence of a relationship that had been going on for nearly 2 years. While our son was fighting for his life. While I was sleeping in hospital chairs. While our family was falling apart. She was building another life. The day Ethan died was rainy and gray. The kind of day that feels wrong before anything bad even happens. I arrived at the hospital before sunrise. The doctors already knew. I could see it in their eyes. They had run out of options. There would be no miracle. No last-minute recovery. No happy ending. I sat beside Ethan's bed. Held his hand. Told him I loved him. Told him how proud I was. Told him he was the bravest person I'd ever known. Then I watched my son take his final breath. A part of me died with him. No parent should ever experience that. No parent should ever know what it feels like to leave a hospital carrying memories instead of a child. Vanessa arrived nearly 4 hours later. For hours. She cried. She hugged people. She performed grief. And for a moment, I almost believed it. Until I noticed something strange. Every time her phone vibrated, she secretly checked it. Even in the hospital. Even after Ethan died. At the time, I didn't understand. Now I do. Trevor was texting her. The funeral was scheduled 5 days later. The night before, Vanessa told everyone she couldn't attend. She claimed she was emotionally destroyed. Too heartbroken. Too overwhelmed. People sympathized. Including me. I thought grief had finally reached her. I thought she was suffering. Instead, she was boarding a plane to Hawaii. With Trevor. The next day, I buried my son alone. And that afternoon, I discovered the truth. For 2 weeks, I said nothing. I hired an attorney. A forensic accountant. A private investigator. I gathered evidence. Every text. Every bank transfer. Every hidden expense. Every hotel reservation. Every lie. By the time Vanessa returned home, I knew everything. I knew about the affair. I knew about the secret vacations. I knew about the money she'd stolen from our joint accounts. I knew about Trevor. And most importantly, I knew exactly how to destroy the fantasy she'd spent years creating. When she walked through the front door carrying expensive luggage and a Hawaiian tan, she smiled nervously. Daniel. I didn't answer. I can explain. No. I placed divorce papers on the table. She stared at them. Her face turned white. What is this? The consequences. She began crying. I felt nothing. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Nothing. Because grief had already burned every emotion out of me. You can't do this. I laughed. I absolutely can. Then I handed her another folder. Evidence. Hundreds of pages. Photos. Financial records. Travel documents. Messages. Proof. The color drained from her face as she flipped through the pages. You investigated me? No. I looked directly into her eyes. You investigated yourself every time you chose him over your family. For the first time, she looked afraid. What Vanessa didn't know was that Trevor had no idea she was married when their relationship started. She told him we were separated. She told him our marriage was over. She told him she was trapped. She lied to him just like she lied to everyone else, including herself. A week after filing for divorce, I arranged a meeting. Trevor agreed. When he arrived, he looked confident, almost smug. That confidence lasted exactly 15 minutes. I showed him everything. The marriage certificates. The timelines. The hospital records. The evidence. The funeral photographs. Then I showed him the Hawaii picture. The same picture I had seen at my son's funeral. His expression changed immediately. Shock. Confusion. Disgust. She told me you were divorced. I nodded. She lies. For nearly an hour we talked. By the end he looked sick. He stood up slowly. I didn't know. I know. Then he left. 3 days later, he ended the relationship. Vanessa lost her lover overnight. Then came the divorce. She expected sympathy. She expected people to support her. She expected her version of events to win. Instead, the truth came out. Family members learned friends learned what happened. Co-workers learned what happened. Not because I launched a public campaign. Because facts have a way of spreading. People saw the evidence. People drew their own conclusions. And those conclusions weren't favorable. Her parents stopped defending her. Several close friends cut contact. Co-workers treated her differently. The reputation she'd spent years building collapsed. But the worst part came later. Much later. Almost a year after Ethan's funeral. We met one final time to sign remaining paperwork. She looked completely different. Older. Exhausted. Defeated. Life had finally caught up with her. As we sat across from each other, she started crying. Real crying. Not the performative tears I'd seen before. Genuine regret. I ruined everything. I remained silent. I thought happiness was somewhere else. Still silent. I would give anything to go back. I believed her. For the first time in years, I actually believed her. But some mistakes can't be fixed. Some doors never reopen. Some losses are permanent. She wiped away tears. I miss Ethan. That one hurt. Because despite everything, she had loved him once. Maybe not enough. Maybe not the way a mother should. But somewhere deep inside her, love had existed. The problem was that selfishness had eventually become stronger. And selfishness always collects its debt. Eventually. I visit his grave every week, she whispered. I nodded. Then I stood. The meeting was over. The marriage was over. The conversation was over. As I walked toward the door, she called my name. I turned. What? Her voice cracked. Do you hate me? I thought about the question carefully. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I gave her the only honest answer I had. No. She looked surprised. I don't hate you. Then what? I looked at her. Really looked at her. At the woman who had thrown away everything that mattered. The woman who had chosen temporary excitement over family. The woman who had missed her own son's funeral. Then I answered. I pity you. The tears started again. Because she finally understood. Hatred means someone still. Pity is different. Pity means the story is over. I walked away without looking back. Every Sunday morning, I visit Ethan's grave. I bring fresh flowers. Sometimes I tell him stories. Sometimes I sit quietly. Sometimes I cry. Healing isn't linear. Grief doesn't follow schedules. But slowly, life moves forward. Not because we want it to. Because it has to. One afternoon, nearly 2 years after the funeral, I sat beside his headstone watching the sunset. The sky glowed orange and gold. For the first time in a long time, I felt peaceful. Not happy. Not healed. But peaceful. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal. The lies. The divorce. The revenge. The consequences. And I realized something important. The greatest revenge wasn't exposing Vanessa. It wasn't winning the divorce. It wasn't watching her lose everything. The greatest revenge was surviving. Moving forward. Building a life she could no longer be part of. Because while she spent years chasing selfish desires, I learned something she never understood. Love isn't proven when life is easy. Love is proven when life becomes unbearable. When hospitals replace vacations. When sacrifice replaces convenience. When loyalty becomes expensive. That's where character is revealed. That's where true love lives. And that's where Vanessa failed. As I stood to leave, I placed my hand on Ethan's headstone. I miss you, buddy. The wind moved softly through the trees. For a moment I imagined hearing his laughter again. Then I smiled. Not because the pain was gone. Because the love remained. And unlike betrayal, unlike lies, unlike selfishness, love never really dies.